Welcome back to another episode of The Summer of Me. Thank you so much for listening and being here. I just love this little corner of the internet where we get to talk about all the things. Okay, I wasn't going to share my word of the year because it feels a little bit vulnerable, if I'm being honest, because it's just not very sexy and it honestly is humiliating. My kids are already talking shit about this. I will fill you in. But honestly, I wasn't going to share it. But, in the spirit of vulnerability, and we just tell all the secrets around here, I'm going to tell you. My word of the year is discipline. I'm going to explain. We're going to get into this. And I just ask that you forego any judgments and you give space for my process. I am type B to the max. I genuinely when people are super type A, they put their clothes away after they wear them. They're just very organized. First of all, I find myself rebelling against that mentality, but also I can't get there. I haven't in the past been able to get there. Let me correct myself because I'm changing my identity. At any given moment, you can just change who you are. So this year, I have decided that I am going to be more disciplined. And part of that is becoming less type B in certain parts of my life, and more type A. Okay. You might be being like, what has happened to you? Have you been kidnapped? What has spawned this wild decision? Any of my close friends who have ever shared a hotel room with me are like, the fuck? Absolutely not. This bitch throws up in a hotel room. I am just somebody who has a very creative brain. And I mean, look at this is my brain personified. And I genuinely don't like when things are very, very, very organized and when people have their desks perfectly laid out, and it could not be me. Couldn't be me. I am the person that's taking my bra off while I'm driving home from somewhere and just tossing it in the front seat. Be like, wild night. Yes, it was a very wild night. I took my bra off. Okay, the last 6 months or so, I've really been trying to up my level of success and figure out how do I get to the next level. I feel like I'm successful and I make enough money and I by all intents and purposes, somebody would look at me from, an outsider's perspective and be like, oh, you have a large social media following. That's obviously that's what I do for a living. You've been successful in that. And you have a beautiful home and all these things. I look at success as constantly going to and striving for the next level. And so I spend a lot of time watching and studying and observing people who are more successful than me. I really look to those people to be where do I need to be going next? And that's anybody. It's strangers on the internet. It's people in my real life. It's people who I know are more successful than me or are maybe where I want to be. And one of the things that I notice is discipline and structure and organization are a core part of these people's lives. Alex Hormozy is a great example. He's somebody who I love to follow online. He's an entrepreneur. He owns multiple businesses. He's bajillionaire or whatever. Anyways, he has a lot of really great content, him and his wife, Layla. And one of the things I saw a podcast episode or something, it was an internet clip, your internet clip. What my dad used to say on the Twitter machine. Anyways, and he was talking about discipline, and he's one of the guys that's he gets up really early, he takes a cold shower, the whole bro mentality. But I think that you can learn from those people, even if I'm not trying to eat ground beef for every meal or any meal for that matter. And he talks about discipline, and he says discipline is how many times you can do a punishing event without receiving a reward. And I think this is very core to what I want to talk about today because again, I look at all these people and I'm like, how do I get to that next level? And it's actually just to be more disciplined in my life, more type A, more structured. And it's so counterintuitive to who I am at my core. I'm just young, wild, and free, emphasis on the young. But genuinely, I'm I have to lock some of this shit in. My silverware drawer shouldn't just be a pile of forks, knives, and spoons and choose your own adventure. There's structure to those things. And I absolutely should be abiding by that. My kids, I genuinely they are what the fuck has happened to our mom? Who are you? Who have you been kidnapped into? So I'm going to tell you some of the things that I've been doing in my life and also just some of the lessons that I've been learning through this process. And again, this is not very sexy. And a lot of you guys are going to hear this and just be like, I don't, it's not for me. Or I like to be this person. I don't like to make my bed. I don't, and I want to validate, I was that person. I don't like to do things that feel annoying. Is the bottom line. That includes putting dishes in the dishwasher, making my bed. I'm a very clean person. I'm just messy by nature, I guess. Not dirty, messy. So I'm working on being better about that. There's people I surround myself with that I feel like are very like OCD type A, and I admire that quality in people. And I'm like, why can't I be that person? Well, spoiler alert, I can. I make my bed every day now, okay? So fuck you guys. Number one, I am a morning person. I know this about myself. My chronotype on my Aura ring is like, you are a morning sunshine. And I absolutely have been a morning person forever, like since I was a young child. Historically, I have not maximized the fact that I'm a morning person because it's easy to like snuggle in your bed and it stay warm, especially like Memphis and Nora will sometimes come into my bed in the middle of the night and like, I don't want to wake them up or disrupt them. Those are all excuses I'm making to myself. So one of the things I've really been working on is maximizing when I am most efficient. So I've been getting up at 5:15 every single morning. This has happened since like Christmas time. And, really capitalizing on that time. And it is, people romanticize this like early morning, like, oh, I get up at 4 a.m. and I'm in a cold plunge and whatever. Okay, great, first of all. But also, like, if that is your strong suit and if that's where you thrive, there is so much time in the morning. I've been getting up at 5:15. I empty the dishwasher. I make my tea. I have a rhythm and a routine, and it has changed my life. Now, granted, it's only been a few weeks, and I know that like people will be like, watch her, like, crumble. And I actually might, like, where I'm a human, and I'm by human nature, like we are, we fail from time to time. But I have really enjoyed it. And I think one of the things that I'm finding is obviously enjoyment makes discipline a lot easier. But for me, I find that being productive and being a more complete version of myself in those situations has also made it easier. I make the bed every single morning. This is genuinely, somebody said this to me. It was like, that's like the easiest thing that you can check off your list every day. It's like one way to be just like really productive right out of the gate. First thing, setting the tone. I have not been always a person that like makes my bed every day. I'll make it occasionally or whatever. I've been making my bed every day, and I cannot tell you like how great it feels. And it just like makes your room feel clean and whatever. One of the things that I'm learning about discipline is doing things that feel very annoying. This is actually like the real work where it comes in, where it's like, I don't want to do these things. I have avoided sending this email. I've avoided making the bed. I'm avoiding clearing the counter. Simple things like putting a dish in the dishwasher right out of the gate instead of setting it in the sink. I am the biggest culprit of this. And it's genuinely out of like, number one, laziness is what I'm realizing. Like, holy shit, I was really lazy. But number two, it's like, this feels inconvenient. And when we can force ourselves to do inconvenient things, it's like, it actually closes loops in our brain. It allows us to move on to the next task. If I'm setting 20 cups in the sink, in the back of my mind, somewhere in a tab in a little Post-it note hanging on by a freaking thread is the thought of like, I have to load the dishwasher later. If you just do it piece by piece, moment by moment, like in little fragments, like you don't have that loop consistently open in your brain. It's not necessarily always about cleanliness or productivity. It's about like not draining your mental energy and like closing all of these little loops. Like I said, like making the bed, grabbing the cup out of your car instead of leaving 18 cups empty in your car, closes that loop. Okay, that part is done. Like, because then every other time I get in my car, if I'm not being disciplined and taking these things out, it's going to be like, fuck, I have all this shit. Like, I got to move this. It adds stress to your life. I know that it doesn't feel like it in the moment. I'm telling you, on the other side of it, like, I realize how much like crisper my life feels, if that makes sense. And some of you who are type A or OCD might be listening to this and being like, this is the most elementary concept of all time. For somebody like me who is type B and lives by the seat of my pants, flies by the seat of my pants, and is just genuinely like so out there in some of these things, this is like life-changing concepts, okay? Annoying tasks are how you prove to yourself that avoidance does not run your life. One of the things I'm learning through this is like how many things I have avoided out of inconvenience or annoyance. Some of this is like I'm a probably maybe undiagnosed ADHD kind of brain. I feel like I'm running a million miles a minute, and it's like putting a cup in the dishwasher feels like I have to move on to the next task. I can't be bothered with that. And what I've realized in this like kind of process is those things actually help your ADHD or your, distraction, or you're feeling like you're running a million miles an hour. It makes me feel like I have accomplished something. Now I can move to the next thing. And for somebody like me who also thrives on productivity, I feel fucking on fire. I feel so productive because I've gotten all these little things done throughout my day that keeps my space clean, keeps my space organized, and makes me feel like I am achieving something. And so there's so much more to discipline than just being clean or organized. One of the things I keep telling myself in this process is don't be so damn lazy. Like, stop being lazy. Stop putting those things off. Stop avoiding the annoying things because you're being lazy or inconvenienced by it. Some of these things are not necessarily nervous system dysregulation. They are laziness, or more accurately called comfort addiction. I have found through this process that I am addicted to just being comfortable and having things be easy and having things be on whatever rhythm or path I want them to be instead of what makes the most sense for my life or my nervous system. And I was just like addicted to the comfort of like, the mess, I guess, if you will. Another thing that I have learned through this process is like, so I'm somebody who really likes to figure out the why behind all of these things. So I've been like researching discipline and trying to figure out like, why am I not somebody who historically has felt like I'm disciplined? Let me like pause really quickly. I am very disciplined when it comes to like sitting down and working or, going to the gym. Those are things that I have trained myself to do. And in the same way, I can train myself to be disciplined in the little moments of my life, like the dishes or making the bed or just like the simple things in life, okay? Getting up early. Motivation, I want you guys to hear and process. This is the science behind it. So motivation is driven by dopamine, right? This is why we always say like in work, I always tell like people on my team, just start. Momentum is what builds motivation, because when you start doing something, you start working and you create a little bit of like excitement, and then you get a dopamine hit from that. And the dopamine hit is what gives you the momentum, right? And then once you have the momentum, then you feel motivated to continue on. And so motivation is driven by dopamine. Habits are driven by automatic neural pathways. Habits are literally designed for us to like shut our brain off and be able to operate on like standby, basically. So it's low effort, low emotion. It's just like, this is just happening whether I choose to or not. It's an emotionless behavior, basically. It uses less mental energy. And so when I decided that I was going to be a person last year, 2 years ago, I guess it's been 2 years ago at this point, that was like, I'm a person that works out. Before that, I hated working out. You could not pry me to the gym. I was always going to be the person that was like, I think people that say they get a runner's high or that like they feel so good and like feel a great release after the gym are just like full of shit. Like I just genuinely didn't believe it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then I went through like a massive breakup and was like, I'm going to jump off a cliff if I don't get all of this like painful energy out of my body. And it became an emotional need for me to actually like physically move my body and go to the gym. And then what happened is it became a habit, because I spoiler alert, I loved the feeling. And B, my body felt good, but it was also just like, this is who I am. I'm a person that works out and moves my body. And so because of that, now 2 years later, you will find me at working out, running, going to the gym, whatever, 6 days a week usually. And there are days where emotionally I don't feel like going, but it's almost like my body overpowers. My habit is like, I have created a cycle of discipline with this part of my life that it's like, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't even take any mental energy to get to the gym. I just know that this is who I am and what I do, okay? My point in telling you this is that the biggest shift happens when your habits stop becoming emotional. And this is one of the things that I've really taken to in this whole journey of like becoming more disciplined about like the very small, minute, like regular things in my life. Once your behaviors become habitual, they are less tied to your mood and your stress and your emotions. And it's why like you see disciplined people who don't necessarily feel emotional about it. Like making their bed isn't an emotional decision. They don't have to decide, am I going to do this or not? It's just, they just do it. Like it is habitual for them. And this comes when you stop negotiating with yourself. So many of the decisions that I was making, these little tiny incremental decisions, were emotional. I don't really want to make the bed. Oh, that feels like too much work. I'd rather just lay down. No, I just am a person who makes the bed. Like this is just a non-negotiable. Research in behavioral psychology shows that identity-based habits stick longer than goal-based habits. So if you're like, I'm going to the gym to lose 10 pounds, I'm just a person that goes to the gym. Period. Those stick so much better than like being goal oriented, because when you lose 10 pounds, are you still going to go to the gym? The theory behind this is that you don't necessarily rise to the goal, you fall to the identity. And so when you can make these habits and these behaviors and this discipline about your identity, I am a disciplined person. We diagnose it or say people are OCD. I don't necessarily think that that's always the case. I think that there are definitely people that have OCD. But I think that a lot of the times those people are just disciplined people. They're not choosing to do these things every day. They just are these things. They have created this behavior. And I'm not saying it's always easy. For me, this is a challenge. Like I genuinely, my goals this year, my resolutions are to be disciplined, to learn how to dive off a diving board, and to do a cartwheel. And listen, the latter two have been my goals for the last 2 years. I have still not accomplished them. If you are a trainer and want to teach me how to do a cartwheel, please submit in the link in my bio because I can't fucking do that shit and it pisses me off. One of the things, this is a tangent, I really just want to go to like a hotel and you see this like long hallways. My kids always do this and I feel so jealous. I just want to cartwheel down one of those hallways. I just want to be like, let's go to our hotel room. Like, and I can't cartwheel. Okay. I'm lanky. But anyways, that's beside the point. I will say though, when you become a person who is disciplined, it is just like it's your identity. So here's my takeaway for you guys and my challenge, so to speak. And this is the list that I have made for myself. I'm going to share with you guys out of the goodness of my heart. And if you struggle with this, if you feel like I'm not disciplined, whether it's in work, whether it's in cleaning your house, whether it's in just like keeping tabs on your life or your finances or whatever it might be, I'm going to give you guys all the things that I go through and you can employ some of these in your life. Maybe. This is all about romanticizing the repetitive. And I know that this, again, is not very sexy, but it is going to change your life in the way that you are going to feel clear-minded to pursue the things that you want to pursue creatively or relationally or whatever. Like when this stuff is organized in your mind, it really does leave so much more room for other things. When I was in Europe over Christmas break, one of the things that I really loved and felt like was something that I wanted to put into my life and was sort of like one of the catalysts for this was setting the breakfast table every morning. Okay. Now I realize that this is like so small and minuscule. And some of you guys are like, what? In fact, some bitch on Instagram was like, the fact that you set your breakfast table every morning is just like so performative. Like I just dump some cereal in a bowl for my kids and chop some fruit. And I was like, okay, well, you missed the point, Trisha. Listen, I also used to do that, but one of the things I'm trying to be better at is discipline. And my kids need breakfast every single morning. They go to school. We're out the door by 7:15. I'm up at 5:15. So that gives me 2 hours to empty the dishwasher, pour my tea, set my morning routine, maybe get ready, put some makeup on or whatever. And one of those things that I really loved about my travels was like, oh my God, I love this like routine of setting the breakfast table. It just like sets a relaxing tone for the morning. Breakfast is laid out. I know my kids are getting, some sort of nutrients. It's not like chaotic to figure out what everybody's eating for breakfast and making 4 different breakfasts. So this is one of the things that I have put into place. I wake up, I put orange juice and glasses on the table. I went to Target. I bought like cute dishware for this. I really was like, this is going to be a part of our life. This is going to be a new routine that we instill. And again, this requires discipline because yes, it is easier to just dump some cereal in a bowl. And I'm not asking you to repeat this exact thing. Maybe just take the lesson out of this, which is like figure out something that makes your day feel clearer and makes your mornings go smoother and start becoming disciplined about it. I have done this now for 3 weeks or whatever. I overheard Nora, who's 8, in the pantry the other day, whispering to Bellamy, who's 12. And she was like, how long do you think she's going to keep this up for? I was like, hold my beer because you know what? I fucking love a challenge, Nora. I am going to keep this up for the rest of your goddamn life, okay? You are getting croissants and orange juice on the table for the next 14 years. This is, though, a genuine, like, a reaction of somebody who has seen me be very, like, chaotic in the mornings and unorganized and somehow make it through. Like, by the fact that I have made it to having 5 kids and this big of a life, so to speak, with being just completely chaotic and disorganized and undisciplined in a lot of ways in my life is a small miracle. My kids call this clean mom breakfast, like the clean girl aesthetic. They're like, oh, is this clean mom breakfast? How long are you going to keep this up? They are like razzing me about it to no end because they really have seen like who I was. And I'm like, you guys, this is who I am now. I am disciplined. I am organized. I am the mom that puts breakfast on the table every morning. So that is one thing, but let's get through the rest. First and foremost, my dishes always go in the sink. I'm making the bed every single day. I am checking in on my banking every single day. That means logging into my bank accounts. Numbers are scary for people who are undisciplined. They are scary for people who kind of fly by the seat of their pants and live chaotically. I do not like numbers. I feel like they are concrete. They are too real. They are not changeable all the time. And so logging into my bank account, seeing how much is in there, seeing how much is in my investment accounts and my crypto and my whatever you have, and I want to tell you, like, if you are somebody in your home who doesn't necessarily run the money and you have no clue what's going on there, have a clue. Like, just tap in a little bit. Maybe just like part of your reality of becoming a little bit more disciplined, and that is being like, what am I spending every month? Where is our money going? Like, I think that no matter who you are in a relationship and a marriage, it's important to know these things. Especially if you're single and you're independently responsible for your finances, you should know intimately what kind of money is in your bank accounts, what kind of money that you're making and spending and all those things. Checking in on my goals. This is another way where I am like undisciplined. If I know that I'm not meeting where I need to be to hit a goal for Arbonne, or, maybe it's like where I want to be like numbers wise with podcasts or whatever. I avoid it like the plague because that feels scary and real, and I don't really want to face the reality of that. And so I've been really trying to be disciplined about checking in, like where am I at numbers wise with goals and things like that. My calendar, I can't tell you how many moms will be like, hey, Nora RSVP'd to that party. I didn't see you guys there. Like, was everything okay? Oh yeah, that would require me to check my calendar, Tina. I'm so sorry. I really am poor about like making, not necessarily as much for myself, but especially like the kids. They have so many things going on, games, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm just trying to be better and more disciplined about like what is on my calendar this week. What do I need to order birthday presents for? I would like to tell you guys, it is the middle of January when I'm recording this, and I have already ordered Valentine's for my kids. So disciplined bitch I am. Those kinds of things, though, don't happen if you're not looking at a calendar. I couldn't tell you what the date was, but I actually was like, I'm going to look at my calendar. And then I was like, wow, Valentine's is 30 days away. Every year, I am the bitch at Target that is like scrounging for whatever is left in the aisle on the 13th of February. Not this year. I am disciplined, okay? Upcoming deadlines, whether that's for work, whether that's like, again, for kids stuff, just personal things going on, like knowing what is in your life from a adult perspective. I think that this is like, people say like, I'm adulting too hard. I needed to adult a little bit harder. So here I am showing up in that way. And then, we talk a lot about money. I think that it's a really important, one of the things that I think is really a sign of discipline in people is knowing, where am I leaking money? Where am I spending money? And where am I leaking energy? Okay. Where am I giving my like efforts to and energy to that is doing nothing positive for my life? Maybe that's in a relationship. Maybe it's a friendship. Maybe it's like, I don't need to be in the PTO at school. I don't need to be doing those things. That is not like a productive place for me to be, whether that's emotionally, physically, like work-wise, whatever. And so I think really considering like, where are you spending your time and energy and your money, and can you edit and modify those and figure out a way to be more disciplined in different parts of your in that part of your life. You guys have maybe heard this quote before, and I used to think this was the biggest crock of shit ever. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And now I understand the logic behind that. It is not necessarily like, if I make my bed perfect, then I'm going to do my work perfect. It is like, if I look at this task as a non-negotiable in my life and it feels boring and unexciting and annoying, I'm going to look at other tasks that are also annoying and boring in the same way, which is like, this is a non-negotiable. I just simply have to do this. This is part of being a disciplined adult, part of being a successful human, and it is going to provide so many more opportunities in my life because this is how I approach things. And so, for an example, if you avoid your bed, your inbox, your finances, your body, you're also going to likely avoid hard conversations, uncomfortable growth, leadership moments, opportunities. Those things all line up together. I know that on paper, maybe it doesn't look like it, but in your psyche, in the way that your brain operates, when you train your brain to do things that are uncomfortable without a result, you are going to also be able to have conversations that are hard, that maybe don't have the result you want, to enter into opportunities that maybe are uncomfortable, but you're like, I am just the person that enters into these opportunities. It's going to require some discipline. It's going to require a challenge for me, but I'm used to doing things that feel challenging and annoying and hard because I put my cup in my dishwasher every day. I have to make my bed every day. I check my finances every day. I show up at the gym even when I don't feel like it. Using these things as like a bridge to the harder things in life really is, I think, where discipline shines in our lives. And so I really encourage you, start thinking about how you can become more disciplined in your life. Maybe you are already disciplined and you can double down on it. Or maybe you are like me and you were so type B and you have realized that like this is holding you back in different parts of your life. I know for me, I looked at my life and I was like, I am not successful at the level I want to be because I am so undisciplined. And so this has been like a wake up moment for me and has already really changed my life. Obviously my kids are doubting my abilities and you might be too, but I am here to prove you guys wrong. Okay. And also just to level up. So hopefully you have some takeaways from this and I'm excited to hear how this affects you guys. Thanks for listening to The Summer of Me. You can listen to episodes on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube. Come hang out and follow my chaos on Instagram @KendraForNow. See you next time.